In this video, I will show you how to put together this 3D fishing bobber box, which is a 3D SVG from Simply Crafty SVGs. So I'm going to show you the various pieces. So we have the red pieces, the ones that are folded like this. So I've already pre-folded them. I would suggest you do the same. I'll show you how to fold them. There's 8. These are 8-sided. So this will be the bottom. This is the structure part. And then we have panels. So these will be like this. And I just pre-folded them like this. So it makes it easier when we go to assemble them. So put those aside. Then we have the panels that'll go on the outside. So I just kind of folded them like this. So you can pre-curl them. I think it's really easier to do it with my fingers, but some do it on the side of a table. So anyway, just pre-fold those. That'll help you. Then we have the top. Actually, let's continue with the bottom. So we have these, which will be the edges. It's kind of the little edge around the bottom piece, the box piece, and this will go with that. So we'll do that. Then this is for the bottom. So this is actually 2 of these could be for the bottom, and then the 2 other ones. So I'll show you when it comes to that. But this goes with this, and that will be the little stand that it sits on. Those all go there. And then this is for the top. So there's a couple little pieces too. So I kept them in here so I don't lose them. So that will be for these little metallic pieces. So we'll tie a twine on it to hang the fish, or if you could use fishing line, but I'm going to be using twine. So we have 2 of these little metallic pieces, a little white piece for the top of the white lid. This will go with this piece right here, and then the little eyes are in here. So you could use eyes, or you could use something like enamel dots. So the eyes do cut out, but I'm going to end up using these little outlet enamel dots. So we'll use that. So they're about the same size, you can see. So we'll use that one. But you can go ahead and cut those out. So that's those, and then we have the white pieces. So this is the lid, the white lid parts. It's similar to the red. I just pre-folded them. And then here I embossed this with an embossing folder. It's Park Lane Anchor embossing folder. So I just cut it out and then I embossed it. And then I just curled them. So I just didn't do this one. So that'll add a little nice texture to the top of the bobber, or adds a little texture. Could do that to the bottom panels as well, but I chose to do the top. And this will be the bottom of the lid. The lid is not open, so it'll cut. We'll have a panel on the bottom of the lid. You'll see, and you won't be able to see inside. So all the tabs that are inside and all that. So that's all the parts. Oh, and the fish that hangs, and the inside panels of the box. So I printed this out with a digital paper, and so I actually just used copy paper to do it, so it was more flexible and it'll be easier to glue on the inside. So let's get to it. So we'll get started with the bottom piece. So we have these panels, but we want to start with these. So we're going to go ahead and take these, make sure they're all folded like so, and we'll start putting them together. So there's 8 of them, so make sure you have them all ready to go. I'm just going to start with this top tab. So whenever you put something like this together, it's just easier, especially if you're not used to doing it, to anchor one tab. So if you go ahead and anchor this. So I'm going to line this edge up to the tab fold. And normally it'd say be super careful with the glue. So I'm just lining that up right here. You don't have to be super careful because we have a panel that'll go over it to make it look rounder. So that's the reason for that outside panel. Now I have in the past just made these with round it as you went, but this way it gives you a little bit room for error, especially glue getting on the panels. So once you get this secure, you can go ahead and flip it up a little bit and add glue to the rest of the tabs. So let's see. Making sure you can see it in your view. So you could do just a couple tabs at a time or all of them. So I'm just going to do them all. What you want to do is start from the top. And I start at the top so we can line this up right there. But now I'm going to go ahead and line this next edge up. So now I can just use my finger to go over it to make sure it's lined up. And then as you go, you just kind of gradually go so you can kind of understand that you're in the right place when you're doing it. But if it's new to you, take it slow and be patient. So, because it's the same process all the way around, since these panels are all the same size. And also, it's always handy to have like a little damp paper towel nearby. Everything I'm using is American, for the most part, American Craft textured cardstock. And I'm using Barely Art glue. And it doesn't take a lot to hold. So we'll do another one. I'm not going to walk you through the whole thing. So we want to continue just going around. So the second one, so you can see it again. Just go ahead and line it up. I have a little glue on my fingertips here. It's dried though. So I'm just lining up that edge. I'm making sure it's lined up here and then on the edge here. And I'm going to flip those down so they don't glue. So again, we're just going to go ahead and add glue here. That's the nice part about this fine tip applicator that comes with this Barely Art glue. You just have to keep it clean, but it allows you to get it evenly distributed and to control the flow. So you can see I'm just going down. Really what I'm doing is twofold. I'm just making sure that these are lined up. I can feel. And getting a little excess glue if it is. So that's what it looks like on the inside. So we're going to continue to doing this for all 8 panels. So I'm not going to talk through the whole thing, so I'm going to just go ahead and you can watch me put on the remaining ones, and I'll come back when we're starting to close it up because that's a little bit difficult. So now we're going to go ahead and close it. So the one thing I would say to you is when you get to this point, I've done this a couple times, I always make sure that I have the number of panels already attached, because every once in a while I have a panel that just goes missing, or I knock it on the floor or something. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So before you close it up, because I've had times where it was 6-sided and I did it with only 5 sides. So just to avoid that. So when it comes to this, you may have seen that one time, if you watched the whole thing, you may not have watched it, but you can put all the glue on at once if you like. It's up to you. But when it comes to this last one, when you're putting the tabs on, when it comes to this last one, it's actually easier to do it all at once. You can do part of them. You can always glue and fold them inside and get them inside, but for me it's easier. So this is how I do it. And every once in a while I have trouble doing it. Have to add a little more glue. So I'm just going to pull it open like that. And I kind of pushed them in so they're not going to touch, only the ones I want to touch, which are the top ones. So I'm still doing the same thing. Then I'm going to just go down. So sometimes you can get the bottom one too, but this is so small, it's not going to work as well. I'm just reaching inside and making sure it's lined up, because I can reach in pretty far with my right hand. Then I can rotate. So just move it around to what's best serves you. So now I'm going to reach in here, kind of push it together to get it lined up. The last one's always going to be the most difficult. You can see that's what it looks like. So just make sure that everything looks okay and secure. And then there's a couple things we can go ahead and add the outside and inside panels. So the inside panels are going to be like this. So I'm not going to have you painfully watch me put every single one in. But right here, just making sure I get the right angle for the camera. You can start at the we're not going to do it yet. I'm sorry, we don't want to do it yet because we're going to attach something. But after we attach the lip, the edge, we'll attach it like this. So that one's not first yet. We want to do the outside ones. So the reason I curled these, sometimes I just got to replace a little bit, but I did have my little notes here. It just helps to glue them. So now it's going to look solid rather than having these rigid lines here, these folds. So the way I'd put these on is you can add glue on the top and a little bit to the bottom. This is the quick way. You can always add glue in between if you'd like and kind of go down, but this is the quick way of doing it. Line it up at the edge. Make sure it's not above the edge. And it's lined up in the section. And then once you get it set up there, so I'm just kind of applying pressure behind there. Kind of pull it down. Get it straightened. Go like that. So I'll show you a second one, then I'll put the rest of them on, and then we'll go on to putting the edge on, putting together the edge. So again, put a little glue at the top, put a little at the bottom. Make sure you understand how quickly your glue dries. Then we're going to start at the top edge. Line it up. Get it secure there first, the top. And we're going to pull it down. I'm just kind of wiggling it in place, make sure it's centered, and then it goes over this. So we have these nice smooth edges like that. So I'll add the rest of them. So I'm just going to go around and add the rest of these, and then we'll go to the next step. So So now that we have this together, we're going to put the edge piece on. So we're going to go ahead and it's going to be an little edge piece. So first we need to put it on. We need to put it together. So we have this piece and there's little score lines here. So one easy way to fold them is like that. I put it upside down and fold it against the table. Depends on how deep your score lines are. Sometimes those Cricut score tools don't make very great or sharp score lines, so you kind of have to probably use an additional tool. I like my just regular bone folder to do that, to fold it inward. We're just getting these prepped, so it's a nice good fold for when we're ready to attach it. So you'll see how it goes. So here we have two pieces that are identical like that. So I folded one already, but I'm going to show you again another trick. Just I put it upside down and I'm folding it up. And then you can get a nice sharp, crisp fold on those. For me, I'm using the currently using the Solo StarCraft Solo cutter, and I can actually kiss cut score lines, solid score lines. So that's what I use. I prefer it. It folds much easier. So if you're using the Cricut, I always say you might want to use dash score lines, which we have videos to address. So now, once you have these done, what we want to do is go ahead and glue them together. So right here, using one of those little side tabs, add glue. And the biggest thing here is just get as accurate as possible. Get this edge lined up to this fold. It'll fit better, it'll look better. It's pretty small, I know, on your screen, but you can see it up close. Then I'll just go ahead and fold this. Fold this down a little bit, fold it over. Flat on the table, and then fold it flat over. So I know we pre-folded everything, but it really is ready to, it helps to get it ready to assemble. So that should line up, and you just want to make sure you're lined up on the top and the bottom. So now I want to make sure the texture side is up, and so it's up like this. And we're going to go ahead and glue one edge like that, so right underneath it. So this is the textured side, the top, and that's the top. We're just going to glue it like that. When I do things like this, I sometimes assemble it different ways until it seems like it's easier to put together to me. But sometimes I get it right, sometimes it's not so easy for everybody. But sometimes it's just not an easy design generally. So you want to be careful, since we have nothing covering this red, you want to be careful with getting anything on it. So I'm trying not to get the glue on that side. So I'm just lining it up carefully. So I'm making sure that that fold lines up with one of these edges. So this is the most important piece, getting it anchored in place. So you want to make sure that's as accurate as it can be. So there it is. So before I go tugging on it or pulling on it, I'm going to make sure that's good and glued on. So now you can see, you can barely see it, but you can see the tabs glued. So what I like to do is the opposite one. So I'm going to glue the, we can go around and do them one by one, but I like to do the opposite one, and the reason I like to do that, so that's, make sure, it's this one, because it puts it in place. So there's no really, it'll settle it in the right place so you won't have any skewing as you go around. So So put glue on that tab. So the same thing, just the edge. Make sure that that tab is clear. So I'm going ahead and just get my little damp paper towel to make sure I don't get any glue on that side or the top that's visible. Barely Art does dry clear. And again, I'm making sure it's lined up really well where that edge is lined up to the fold and it's in the section. Now some of these you can reach in and place the glue, or you could go upside in here, flip it up and add glue that way. So whatever's more comfortable to you. I'm just going to go like this. Oops, I got a little glue on the sides. So a lot of this is just patience. So I'm going to add glue to 2 of them. Third, I'd probably have to fold up in the bottom. So if you're patient with yourself, you can do one at a time too. So I'm just making sure that it's lined up with my thumb. And then going around here. So this other one, I didn't put glue on it yet. So it's going to be hard to reach in if you do what I did. So I'll show you how you can do that. I like to hit all scenarios because I know everybody, we have different speeds. I'm kind of in between. I'm not really a fast crafter. I've gotten faster over time, but I'm typically a really slow crafter. So this one still needs to be glued. So I'm just going to flip it up and add glue that way. So that's the way you could do it if you need to do that. Probably have a little glue leakage on the other side, but fortunately this is more decorative than structural. So it's not like it needs to hold anything. So as long as I get some glue coverage to get that tab down, it's fine. So now I have the last 3. And I'm just going to add glue to them all at once. So again, you need to gauge how quickly your glue that you're using dries, and that just takes practice. So I know how much I can use with Barely Art glue for the most part, and get it secure before it dries, but I'm not always that successful. So we'll go ahead and do this. So I'm just going to go around for the final edges. So if this is one of your first projects, this is not the easiest project to do, but it's not that difficult if you follow my directions. I think most of them, there's only a couple designs that I have in my store that I would say truly are not a beginner project. I mean, this is kind of like between beginner and intermediate, but I think you could do it if you take the time. It just takes time to learn some of the skill set. Once you do it, it's just like anything. The more you practice, the better you get. So now what we're going to do, once it's all together, and you can't see, we're not going to cover those tabs, it's going to go like this, inside, like that. So now we just need to glue these on the inside. So this takes a little bit, a couple of these steps take some patience. This is another one, so we're just going to glue one of them. So I flipped it upside down and I'm adding glue to one tab. I'm going to flip it, I'm going to choose an edge. So I'm going to have to flip this around to show you, but hold on, I'm a right-handed person, so we're going to place it there, like there. So I'm reaching in with my hand underneath. We're going to get it in place. So once I get it in a section, I'm going to apply pressure here and with my fingers and behind there. So if you can see that, I'll show you what I'm doing in a minute, but you see the front, and I'm also pressing in from the other side. So I left enough room. I have fairly pudgy fingers, so I think most people should be able to get in there. If you can't, you could try to use a tool. If for some reason you can't get anything back there to like a something like a wooden chopstick or something, or something like this. You could use this to reach in and apply pressure. So you could do that. I would do the blunt end if you're going to do it, but you could do that. I think most people should be able to reach in. So now I'm going to do the opposite side. So again, I want to get the opposite side so I can get it right in the middle. See that? So I'm going to do it where you can see it. So I'm pushing down too to make sure that the edge right here lines up to the edge of the box. It's a little bit harder because I'm trying to show you on the video. If I could maneuver it closer to my body, it'd be easier. But I'll go from the other side so you can see it. So I could do that once I get it in place. So I'm just making sure that when I push down that this edge aligns with the edge down there. And then I can apply pressure with fingers on both sides or use a tool like this. So now we have the rest of them. And I would do all three. Well, I'm going to do all three at once. But we want to reach in, add glue to the back of this tab. Move that out of my way. So you can see it's on the back of that tab. I'll do one at a time. So this is the patience part, so I'm going to do one at a time because it does take some time. So I'm going to push it down, make sure it's aligned. Then I think it's easier to start with my fingers, but I'm going to try to use the bone folder. I want to kind of make it look easy to you, but it's not the easiest. This part is not the easiest. This is probably one of the hardest parts in the whole box, is just getting this edge attached. But this is the easiest way that I found to do what I wanted to do. When you want something to look very specific, sometimes it's not the easiest way to do it, but it's the way that's going to work best for everybody. So I'm just going to continue gluing these down. So again, pushing it down, but it gets easier with time. And on the other side. So just arrange it so it's comfortable for your hand. So I'm super right-handed, so it's harder. So remember, this is going to be hidden by a panel. So let me go ahead and finish these, and then we'll put the inside panels on. Okay, so now we have it all together. You can see that edge on it. So now we're going to put those inside panels in. So we talked about earlier, we just go up here, kind of right almost up to the edge. These are slightly smaller. So if you decide to do them in red, just know these are slightly smaller than the outside ones, these ones. And they have a little rounded corner at the top, at the wide part. So we're just going to go like this. And do the same we did, except on the inside. So the reason I kept it open on the bottom is so we could use our fingers to apply pressure. So I'm just going to do the same thing. Put a little glue. Since this is really thin paper, I'm just putting a little glue on the top and bottom. making sure I don't get it any glue anywhere. Line it up at the top. I didn't line it up right. It's just a fun thing to see when you open it. Takes a little bit getting to line it up. That's why I say paper's easier than cardstock for this on the inside, and it gives you a little, because it's slightly smaller, you have a little wiggle room in there. Whereas the outside ones are the same size as the sides. So we're going to go ahead and continue putting these on. We'll finish this, and then we can add the bottom piece. Just showing you one more time. You just don't want to go above the edge. Okay, so now that we have the inside, and you can see there's a little red edge that shows, and it was better on most, but a couple of little gaps, but it's supposed to clean it up a little bit, and it just takes a little finessing. That was one of my early ones, but you just kind of have to get in there and align it. It's kind of fun inside. Let's go ahead, we're going to add this middle one of these. So there's 4 of these. We're just going to go add one of them. We're just going to put them right on the inside. So add glue to all these at once. And then I'm going to glue the non-textured side down so the texture is showing on the inside. So you want to kind of center it the best you can. And I'm just getting rid of the excess glue. So it took some of my blue ink off. Getting that good and flat. Then we'll work on the little base at the bottom. So that's what it looks like. So now we have this, and we're going to put this base, and this base will go down here. So I'm going to put that aside. We want to go ahead and fold this. So you can fold it this way first. And then I would suggest going this way to get the nice crisp. Like I said, you could use a bone folder if you need it a little bit more crisp, but because I do kind of a kiss cut using I have a blade that scores it rather than a scoring tool with my cutter. I've been doing that for years. I did that with Silhouette and when I had Eclipse, and it's one of my favorite things. I like solid score lines. I just don't like how for Cricut, like the score tools, they just don't score enough for me. So we're going to go ahead and just add glue to this end tab here. And then just fold it over. So it doesn't matter where you fold, it'll do it flat. So once we have this folded, we're going to go ahead and do the same we did. We're just going to go ahead and put one on the inside. So we're just going to put it right in the inside like that. And I'm going to put the non-textured side down because it'll glue better. But I kind of have to pull these back to get it in. And I'm just going to do a couple tabs to start with, so I can get it in there, and then I'll flip them back and glue the rest of them. So you can see I'm just doing 3 tabs. We want them to fold inward. Just going to line them, get them in there. Sometimes I do all of them depending on the design, but this one I want to make sure we get a good start. So I'm just getting those lined up so that edge is lined up with the inside tab fold there, right here. That's what it looks like on the bottom. Then we can flip these up and add glue to the rest of them. The reason I like to do this is because it helps shape it rather than you just having to, like one side we will just fold it up, we'll just put it on top because we can't get inside, but this allows it to help shape it accurately. Where when you fold it over the top, which we'll show you, we're going to do one of them just over the top, it's harder to get it lined up. So I like one side super accurate, and that's usually the side I use for anything that I'm looking at. Like that. So I always pick the best side that's going to be viewable, but for this case, both sides, one will be on underneath it and viewable if you look at it, obviously, but the other is won't be viewable because we're going to glue this to the bottom of the box that we just put together. So I'm just adding glue to all these tabs to hide them. And then lining this up. When you do something like this, you want to make sure your glue's to the edges. So I tried to do the best I could, but I don't want it to show too much. So what I'm going to do is just really apply pressure inside like this. Move it around. I'm just kind of getting my fingers in towards the edges, making sure to eliminate too many gaps here. And then for this, we're just going to anchor just one edge. And again, I'm trying not to get glue on these edges. I'm going to go ahead and do this. So just line this one piece up. I'm lining this edge up to the tab fold. I'm getting it anchored on, and I'll just glue those rest of those tabs, and then we'll fold it over and line it up best we can. It's not the hardest to line up. I just think it's easier to have one side that looks super clean. So with these tabs, you don't want to push them down too far because they need to grab. So we're going to put, you can see that they're kind of up. We want them that way because if we push them too far down, we won't be able to get it to adhere. So we do have to add glue to all these tabs at once. Carefully applying the glue. This is an octagon, so it's a little bit more edges, but we're going to start with the piece that's attached. So anchor. So now we have that. So we want to start here. We're going to start on one side, so I'm going to start on this side right here. Just going to fold it over. And just lightly go around, make sure to just push in the edges, because you can kind of squeeze it to get them lined up. So I'm just squeezing it a little bit on sides, making sure that it's pretty close to being lined up there. So now, just applying light pressure around the edges here. And then I can flip it over and just apply a little bit more. So now, we want to glue it here. So whichever side you feel is best, they both have clean sides. I'm going to glue the one that we just folded over. If I can control my glue. So you want good coverage, but you don't want it leaking all over the place. But I want good coverage. This is why I use liquid glue, because it will adhere. You could use something like a glue gun. A lot of people do. That's the quick and dirty, but it'll come apart faster than this. So I'm just lining it up. I have a little glue on my finger, so I'm going to get that off. So just wiggling it around, making sure it's where I want it to be. You can do that and apply pressure that way. So you don't want to push it too hard. I just have my flat hand and I'm applying pressure in there just to make sure we get good adhesion. So this will be the bottom of the box. That completes the bottom of the box. I know it seems like a long time, but I don't really edit my videos completely. You can always forward through them. So there you go. So it's just going to sit like that on top of that. So we'll move on to this little detail here. This is going to be the top of the box, which is the part of the bobber that attaches to fishing line usually. So I'm going to go ahead and fold that. So I have these little pieces in here so I don't lose them. So we're going to work on this. Put these together, and then what I also want to do is to put together the fish. So we'll get the fish pieces and we'll talk about that too and some of the inking I did. So when you cut these out, you'll have these fish pieces. So they're going to go back to back, so they're going to hang, so it's a two-sided tag per se. But if you want it two-sided, so you know if it flips over, it's fish on both sides. So I already inked this one. You can see that's the hook with the fish like that. And then this goes under, which is the white, but you see I already inked it. So I'm going to go over the inking with you. But let's go ahead and first put, so we don't have to do, we're only going to do one set. And we only have to ink the white and the top. So the one with the gills, like that, and the white. So I'll show you how I did that. But for now, let's go ahead and do this. So we don't need that white piece. This white piece is for later. We need the red pieces and these little silver pieces. So these are the little pieces we're going to tie a little twine to it at the top. So I don't know what it technically is called, but I didn't put a real score line. I just put cut dash lines because it makes it easier to fold. So we want to fold it that way and then this way. So you want to really just fold it backwards like that. So we're going to take those two pieces and glue them together like that. Make sure I can show you like that. So we're only going to glue that top part. These are tabs, so you're not going to add glue on those. So we're only going to add glue to this little half circle. And make sure that we don't get glue on that. So I'm using metallic paper, and you do not want to have glue on your fingers when you use it. So I'm just going to go ahead and carefully line that up, trying not to get glue on my fingers. So couldn't speak while I was doing that. Make sure I get it lined up. Then we'll slide this through. So this, I'm making sure the textured side's up. Going to slide these through. And we'll fold them back. So we're going to add glue under the dash cut score lines or perforated lines. And fold it back on one side. And we'll do the same on the other side. So while I'm holding the other side, I'm going to glue the other side. Be careful of getting glue too close to that fold so you don't see it on the other side. But it's slightly smaller, as you can see. Trying to keep it as flat as possible, because when we do this other piece, we want to be able to glue this on easily. But it's good to get it nice and glued on. So that's the top of it. So we take this little piece, and we're going to go ahead and fold it. And this will eventually fold over, but we just want to fold that flat, like that, so we can add glue to this little tab. And fold it over. And you see that little piece, that tab? It seems like it's weird, but it works out. So I'm just kind of moving it. I'm going to scooch it under. There we go. So we want to go ahead and glue it on the inside, just like we did that bigger piece on the bottom of the box. So I think the best way is to put this in like this. I'm going to use my other finger to hold it in. It takes a second. I'm showing you me struggling just a smidgen because we want to get it rotated correctly in there, so each edge is aligned with the tab. I'm going to do one to start with, just to make sure it's in the right spot. You could do it from the other side, but I find it was harder to do it from the other side. So essentially we're anchoring it. So since it's such a small piece, I'm going to add glue to all the other tabs. So we can just go around and glue them all at once. So go ahead and fold them down. And instead of trying to do it with my fingers to start with, I'm just going to fold them flat and reach inside. Go around. I'm making sure that they're all folding properly. So I'm just reaching inside and pressing down against the tabs like that. So if they don't glue down, you can always go ahead and do this. So I don't think I put enough glue on those. Just going to add a little dab of glue on the couple ones. Get them down there. And then we'll go ahead and close the other end. Then we'll determine which end we're going to glue this to. So just like I did the bottom of the box, I'm going to fold these in partially. I'm going to add glue to all these tabs. And we'll line it up. So I'm just going to fold that over. And then we'll go around the edges, make sure we kind of push it in, line up those edges before the glue dries. It's much smaller, so it's going to be a lot sturdier diameter wise. So I'm still going to rub it, and then I can flip it over and apply more pressure. Dried glue gets all over my fingertips. Just the thing is, you don't want the wet glue to get on it. And we can do it from here. So there's two. We're going to go ahead and put it on the one with the tabs, so we keep it smooth for me attaching it to the lid. So right now, let's go ahead and add glue here and attach this. So yeah, there's lots of steps to this particular project. So when you're putting this on, just line it up. Get it in place first. And then you can go ahead and make sure your fingers are nice and clean. And you can get it, apply pressure around the edges. So the hardest will be right there. So you want to make sure you get there without really bothering that middle piece here. So that's the top of the bobber. There it is. So this gives it more time to dry before we, as we finish the lid piece. Making sure I just have really clean edges. The other thing I'm going to do is to ink the edges. So I'm going to show you with the little black soot distress oxide. And I just forgot to get a little piece of paper. Let me get that, because I like to kind of clean it off. Just to clean the edges. And you could use, a lot of people use, I have some smaller tools, but for what I'm trying to do right here, works out well. So now we're going to go to the fish. Since I have this black soot out already, we're going to go to the fish, and I talked about inking these right here. So I have these are little eye crafter brushes that I like to use to do small things. So let me go ahead and close my glue before it dries. I'm going to use black soot distress oxide to do this. And the reason I'm doing this is when you line them up, because it's white, I don't want it to look so white. So I went a little bit into the eye there, but we just need to be careful about where we ink it. So for the white, it's really kind of quite simple. I'm just going to ink around the edges so it doesn't look so white on the edge when we're lining them up and piecing them together. I'm not too worried about the tail or anything like that. The only place we need to be careful about inking on the white piece is around the eye. So you can always line it up to make sure you're not inking there. You don't have to ink it all, by the way. I just like to do this. I like to show you what I do. And we don't care about this inside part because that won't show. I'm just trying to get around this little opening here, kind of like the gill cut. And then if I line this up like that, you can see I'm not really, you won't see it with the eye. I just went a little bit too far on the other side. So that's the way I did that. And the other thing I did was to make it a little bit more interesting. I don't know if you can really see this, but you can in person. You can see that little green. So I inked these a little bit so you can see the gills a little bit, and I'm going to pull them up. So the way I did that was, and I like to get the excess off first, it's just pulling them up like this. They're kind of up already. And I don't mind if it's a little bit dark there. My whole thing, I'll just blend it in. You kind of have to look at it a couple times to see if it's showing, so I don't have as much ink. That's why I'm lifting the edges. So see if you can see it making a difference. I know it looks really like scrunchy, so I'm just kind of going around to make it consistent, because this part you'll see. And then I'm going to add a little cracked pistachio coloring as well. And that's kind of like the green you see on the other one. Just get more of a fish feel. I don't want it like completely accurate, but I just trying to play around with inks. I like to play around with inks. You can see we can kind of match what we did on the other one. So I did a little inking there. So right here I'll just, I think we'll stop with the black soot. And let me go ahead and get, the reason I like these is because there's different colors. So when it comes to using a different color, so that's cracked pistachio, I don't have to, it has the color already on it. And distress oxides blend quite well, so it's one of the reasons why I'm using it. So I'm just trying to get a green, not tummy, it's not whatever, I don't know what the bottom of the fish is called. So just getting a green tint to make it look a little bit more fisherman-like. I just like the different colors. I can add just a little bit more while I've got that one out. So those are inked the way I want to. So in this next section I'm going to show you how to put this together. I'm kind of going backwards, so I filmed this after I put this together. But at one point, before you glue this all together, I would pull these pieces back, because you can, once you get them glued on and they're not pulled back already, if you want to have that, if that's what you want, then it's going to be hard getting under, especially a thick paper like this cardstock. So it's just something that I just had some trouble with, so I decided to go backwards. And then after that, we ink it. So the next section is about how to put this together. Just make sure at that point that if you want to pull the gills up, that you kind of slightly pull them up with a tool like this. And you can do it from the back before you put these all together. So now on to the assembly of the fish. So they are like I said, a double-sided, so we're going to put them together. This is a double-sided tag, kind of fish tag. And by the way, you could make just one side. So let's just say you wanted to do, it goes like this. It goes like that. And the other side's opposite. Let's say you decided, oh, I'm just going to do one side. You could do that. You could do it, this is a foil, it's Recollections foil cardstock with craft paper on the back. So that'd be easy to write on. Or you could just cut one of these in white if you wanted to use it as a tag. But I made it double-sided, so we'll go ahead and put one side on here. So let's go ahead and actually put this together and then put it on there. And the reason is because it's metallic, and metallics are not forgiving when it comes to glue. So we're going to go ahead and I'll glue this onto the larger piece. And how you want to line it up, be careful with the openings, we don't want to see the glue. How you want to line it up is really start at the mouth. Line it up in the front. And then the edges here. You can see that's intentional. I'm going to get that lined up like that. Then the same thing, this is just going to sit right on there. I'm going to add glue here, just sparingly around the eye and around the edge. You can put a little bit here. But you kind of want to just go right underneath there, because we're going to pull those gills up. So let's go ahead and line it. You can do it at the white. You can see how it lines up like that. So you could start at the tail on that one. We're just covering all the white pieces. So I have a little pick here. Once you get it together, the reason we're not adding glue is I'm just going to pull those up a little bit. And let me get a stylus to do this so I don't poke something wrong. So I'm just going to get the end of the stylus. And we can do that after, but that's what we're going to go after once we get it on this piece. So that could be the thing you do last. So now we can just add glue the entire back of it and line it up on the metallic piece. And if you, let me just line it up before I start talking here. If you would prefer not to have a fish at all, and you just want a hook or you want a different fish, I included in the extra stuff folder a hook that's a double-sided hook to go back to back. So just this hook without the fish. So I'm going to do the other one, and then we'll glue them together. So let's go ahead and do this one really quick. So if you do like this project, this video, ask if you could give me a little thumbs up, a like on the video, and or subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so. And if you hit that little bell to the right of subscribe, you'll be notified when we have new content, new projects. So yeah, the most of the time here is related to inking. If you want to do that, that's something. It's up to you. I know I have evolved with my inking skills. I have to see where the cuts are here. Trying to make sure I'm clear of those gills. And then I mentioned earlier, but there's two little cutout eyes that included with the file. But I'm going to use enamel dots to give them kind of shiny eyes. Just for fun, like kind of dimensional. And you could use something like Nuvo or something like that, black, that you could have it raised. I never did buy, I don't even know if they have black, but something like that. Some people might use little rhinestones too. So I didn't get it lined up as well on this side, because I was talking too much. So now we want to just line them up like this. So I know it's like a thick thing, but I wanted it to be double-sided because if they flipped it around, they just didn't see the back of something. But some people might, especially the silver. I wanted the silver hook on both sides, or whether you use gray or silver. So it's a pretty hefty piece once we get it all glued together. Getting it lined up down there so I can focus on this. Didn't line that up quite well. So I'll pick the side that looks best to me to have it hang, which this one does. So you want to apply some good pressure, and then I'm going to use these eyelet outlets, brads. It's not brads, that eye outlet enamel dots. I'm going to put a little eye there. So you could use this fish on a card too. It's kind of fun, double-sided. So this is where you can spend the time, and I'll do it a little bit later, but being careful not to bend that. Coming through, and if you need to get underneath there a little bit better, You can kind of curl it up. I have a really simple, a smaller one, but this is why this really works. This is just and just lift them up carefully. And just be really careful. You want to get under. And patient. You don't want to ruin it after all you've done. And this is if you glue it wrong, then that's going to be an issue. So I'll go ahead and work on that, and then we'll go on to the next. I didn't want to mess up that. So we'll go on to the lid. So if you saw that earlier, I actually went back after I made it and suggested that you should put this on before this. You just saw this. So once you get these on, if for some reason you do not pull them up, you can go with the tool very lightly, but it's hard to get under, and that's what I did. And I only do it on one side. This is the side I'm going to have hang that can be seen. But be really careful with anything like this. So I like this cardstock, but it does kind of wrinkle a little bit and things show. But I'm going to just deal with that. So after I pulled these up, because I kind of pulled the paper a little bit weird, I just inked them. Just to hide any kind of imperfection. But, I like them up better, so that's what I did. So after this, we'll go ahead and we're almost to the end, believe it or not, even though we have to do the lid still. So we're going to put aside this fish, and we'll get the white pieces. So we have this little piece, this big piece, panels, and then this. So we want to make sure that you have fairly clean hands. So if you just did inking right before this, I'm just getting a wet. I have this little thing. If you wonder what I just did, it's water, and I think it's like an alcohol thing. But anyways, my sister made this, and I've had it forever, and it's handy because I just get these little pieces of I cut up paper towels, and then I have these little things to actually wipe my fingers off and any kind of excess glue. So it's nice. So we'll go ahead and put this together. So you can see I actually pre-embossed these, so these are fun once we get this together. So this is going to go together just like the red one. So really no difference. I would start at the bottom, and the reason why I would do that is because bigger tabs are easier to anchor. You can start at the top if you want. That's up to you. So I already had these all folded, so it's best to do that. And so we're going to go ahead and line it up just like we did the red. So I'm just lining this edge up. So this is pretty repetitive to the red piece. So I'm just going to show you how I do it, and just move it in your hand, whatever feels good to you. Trying to make sure I don't get glue on the other pieces. So I do like to add glue to the rest of them, but if you feel like you only need to do a couple at a time, just add glue to as many tabs as you want to add to it. These kind of things take practice. So I'm just going to line up, but you want to be as accurate as possible. So I'm just lining these edges up to the folds. And we're going one by one to make it as accurate so we can kind of jiggle the next one in place. If I make it look easy, I've done a ton of these, so it just takes practice. So clear, I'm going to throw a little bit here. So I'll continue putting them on. I'm not going to torture you through listening to me, but we'll go ahead and I'll finish this up to the point of closing it, and then I'll walk you through the closing of it. So I'm almost done, but I have to close it. So just like the red, you say this is a little bit bigger than the red piece, so it's a little bit harder to reach in. So this one is going to be a little bit more difficult to glue. So I'm going to actually add glue to all of them again. If there's imperfections on this one side, then you're doing good. I probably should have glued it. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to start at the bottom. Always make sure there's 8 too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do that before you add the glue. So I'm going to line it up. There, and then I'm going to line it up at the top too. I'm going to get this bottom one. Because there's so much here, look at the bottom 2 here. And it gets difficult to reach in. Kind of reaching in to the tabs. I'm going to flip it around so I can reach in here. See if I can get that lined up right there. So basically now I'm doing in between. So I'm just going to go from the bottom up. I just wanted to get that top kind of in place so it'd help me as I'm going. I mean, I'm just pushing on the tabs on the inside right there as I push from the outside just to get them lined up. So this is one of the hardest parts about closing something like this, especially this with the curve at the top. But I'm making sure it looks like they're all, looks like I'm a little bit up right there. So I do have one tab here. We have one tab that's kind of off. You want to make sure. So I did make it, I'm making this one so just making sure don't have any tabs slipping around up there. So we can kind of add additional glue. I didn't want to have to add inside panels to this because I knew it would be difficult. But if for some reason you want to, you could always, let me know. But you would just use the inside panels the same size, but you would have to basically slice these off. So the tabs off. Because as it stands now, the tabs are there for to be able to attach this big panel right there. But before we do attach that panel, we want to go ahead and put these side panels on. So I'm just going to do a couple, and then I'll just get the rest done. But we're going to just go ahead and add glue at the top and bottom like we did with the red ones. So the bottom is going to be easier because it's bigger. So let's go ahead and line it at the bottom. And then you don't want glue on your fingertips on the outside of this. So you can pull these tabs up just a little bit to get your fingers in to apply pressure there. So I'm just pulling these tabs back very gently so we get all the rest of them done. So I'll do one more. It's a roly-poly, that's for sure. If you get a little glue on those tabs down there, it's not a big deal because we're going to glue that to the panel. I really like the embossing on this one. I was trying to think of what, I didn't have any fish, but I had anchors, so I thought that would be fun. I suppose you could do anything really, but I was trying to keep it into the fish theme. So go ahead and finish these, and then we'll go on to the last part, which is adding that little bottom panel and attaching the top piece of the bobber and the fish. Okay, now we have this. So we have all the panels on. So I'm going to go ahead and add this little piece on the top. So we're going to do it on the inside. I'm going to go ahead and add glue to these little tabs. Make sure there's not glue on my fingertip here. I know you can't see me doing this. I'm just lining it up. Rather than worrying about you seeing me, I'm just going to make sure it's lined up properly. Kind of pushing in to make sure the tabs get glued. If you want to know what I'm doing, it's just that. I'm just putting it on the inside, but I'm putting it a little crooked. So I'm going to switch gears here. We're just going to go on the top because it's just not going to go on the bottom. My test ones were fine on the bottom, but for some reason this is not cooperating. So we'll just put it right on the top here. And then we can reach in to apply pressure. So I'm going to squish it a little bit around to get it set in place. And it got a little bit dirty, but that's okay because we're putting the red piece on top. So I just want to get it set in place. And I'm going to use my fingers to push down. Just going to go ahead and use this wooden chopstick to get a little additional. And I have just a little bit of a gap there. Let's go ahead and fix that. Squish that in. It's kind of a fiddly piece. Let's put it upside down here. Let's focus on that one side to get it glued in place. We don't want it coming off, so you can always add additional glue. That's good. So we're going to go ahead and put that on top like that, but let's let it glue dry for a minute and make sure, just one more time, going flat, make sure we got good coverage. Let's go ahead and put this bigger piece on. So we don't want to see the tabs, so that's the reason for this. So we're going to attach this to one tab. So we want to anchor that one tab. So we'll go ahead and align this here. just doing it from my angle so I can see it well. Takes a second. And then we can apply pressure. Hope the lighting's good enough here. So now we're going to do what we did earlier. So these are bigger, so you kind of have to put a little bit more glue, but make sure they don't get compressed in too much because we want to line it up best we can. But we have to glue them all at once. So you have to make sure your glue is good and wet. So when I get to the last one, I'm going to go back to the first one to make sure I have good coverage. You can try to reach in and try to do it from the sides, but it's more difficult, in my opinion. So once we have all this glue coverage, I'm just going back to the first one, make sure that there's good edge glue coverage. So now I'm going to carefully fold it down. Start from one edge, kind of pushing it in. So rubbing the ones down that I get in place, then continuing around to get it lined up. So once they're all down, just gently rub where the tabs are. We don't want to push it in because we don't want it to become So now I can do that. So this is a strange box, I have to say. So before we put that top of the bobber on, get my fingers clean, make sure this is good, and so you can see it's just going to fit in here real snug. So it goes down a little way, so it's not like you can fit a ton in here, but you can lift it a little bit. Probably about that much to close it, and I'll have to put an example in there. It's more of a visual piece, but you can definitely put a little gift card down there, or use our fishing hat box to really hold something fun. So, but if you want to put something big in there, I think I'll just do that. I'll just add to the alternate at the extra stuff file. Since I'm doing this video now, I can do that. In the extra stuff, you'll have these open, so you'll have it without tabs if you don't want to put that bottom piece in so it can hold more. If that's the case, you might want to put some inside tabs to hide the inside panels like this. So just duplicate that and hide the tabs inside, or if you don't care, just don't do that. That's fine. So I'll add that to the extra stuff folder, so just in case you want to put a whole lot more. I wasn't really thinking of the quantity it could hold, just the structure. So this happens when you're, so kind of fun, huh, so far? So now let's go ahead and add the top of the bobber. So I'm going to do a good coverage on the bottom of this red. You want to be really careful, but you want to hold this for quite a while because you want it to stick. So you might want to find the best forward and backwards too, but it doesn't really matter for mine. It looks all the same. So because it's hollow, if you do it like this, then it's easier to put this on after. If you have it open, which is going to be, like I said, the extra stuff folder, you can actually reach in and apply pressure at the back of this, at the bottom of this, while you apply it. It just wasn't, it's not easy to put this on first and then put that little cover on. So it depends how you want to use this. But ultimately, the difference is that you will just have this open. Be able to fit more in the box. So you want to hold that good and long. I mean, we don't really want to lift it that way, but you can. If you hold it long enough, it should be able to lift the top lid. And then we're going to go ahead and put this on, hang that from it. So we have some twine. I chose this as don't want to have idle time while I'm doing this. We have this kind of gray twine that I think I didn't want to take away from the actual box. So I chose this. I was looking at red, but I decided to do the gray. So to tie on the fish, I'm going to use this twine. So I tried all sorts of fancy things and they just didn't work really well. So here's my simpler way of doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and get the one, I want it to kind of lay about right there. So I'm taking something that's rather long, just in case. And of course I can always cut it again if I don't like it. So I'm just going to go ahead and, slide it through like this. Just doing that kind of attachment. Then I'm just going to do a square knot back here. Just to see, I want to see how long I want it to be. So I can go ahead and put it right in there to help me. Because I want it to hang about right there. So it's not touching the table. I have to switch these out here. And I believe I'm doing a square knot. Not the greatest knots. I was practicing and do the best I can. So I just want it to come up a little bit more. Because when it's going to sit there, I want to make sure it sits where I want it to. So I have way too much twine. I forget, it can't go like that. We have to go under and back. The nice thing is if you don't have it right the first time, you can go ahead and do another one. So I'm just going to have those hang off the back. Let me go ahead and, so right now you can kind of see. Trying to figure out how. So let me go ahead and show you that. So it's not even touching. I can get my finger just right under that, so it's just hanging. So now, there we go. Kind of have to hold that, but it's like that. So do the tie that to your liking. Obviously, I'm just kind of trimming it a little bit. And that's it. There's the finished bobber box. Let me go ahead and zoom out a little bit. So there's the finished box with the hanging fish. Just remember to give me a little like if you like this project, and I thank you so much for watching.